Hello there, it's Andy Parks from the Washington Times, and I'll be joined by Jeff Mordock, Washington Times White House reporter, in just a few seconds. You know, as a listener to my podcast, you're qualified to receive a 50% discount on an annual digital subscription to the Washington Times. That's right, simply go to washingtontimes.com/Andy. That's washingtontimes.com/ANDY. All right, as promised, joining me now, Jeff Mordock, Washington Times White House reporter. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Andy, how are you today?
Doing just fine. Second
Good.
gentleman, Kamala Harris's husband, ushered out of school in D.C. by Secret Service. Do we know any more about that incident?
The Secret Service and the Washington police are still looking for the suspect. What we do know is that he was set to speak at a Black History Month event at Dunbar, which is a D.C. high school. And about 5 minutes after speaking, the Secret Service rushed him out of there after a bomb threat. I mean, it's some pretty scary stuff. The bomb threat turned out not to be real, but they canceled the event and they sent everybody home.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, I'm going to move on to some other things here. Biden to revive climate agenda at meeting with utility company CEOs. What's the goal here?
The goal here is his Build Back Better agenda is at this point dead. He's trying to revive pieces of it. First piece he wants to start with is the climate portion of it, which includes roughly $550 billion in energy and climate spending. That includes more than $300 billion in expanded tax credits for wind, solar power, nuclear plants, and other items that the utility companies have gotten behind. So what he's going to try and do is, this is a way to sort of kick off his push that if he can't get the entire Build Back Better agenda through, he's at least going to start with the climate provisions, try to get them through. If he can get those through, then he'll see what else he can get. But he's got a lot of obstacles here. There's no Republican senator who's on board. Now, Joe Manchin has said he's on board with some of the climate provisions, but he hasn't said which ones he is and which ones he isn't. So it's not even clear what he'll support. And also, Biden is expending a lot of political capital on the Hill already. He wants to get an election reform bill passed. He wants to get a policing overhaul bill passed. He wants to get a Supreme Court nominee through the Senate. So he's got a lot on his plate with midterms bearing down. I mean, that Supreme Court hearing is a couple of weeks. That's probably going to take about a month. And we're already mid-February at this point, and midterms are going to be here before we know it.
The Biden administration launches Day of Action to promote child tax credit. Why are they doing this? Can't people think on their own anymore?
It's interesting that they're doing this because they're really urging everybody to get involved. They're reaching out to houses of worship. They're reaching out to faith-based communities. They're encouraging people, if you know somebody, bring it up at your Sunday dinner table. They're really pushing this. You're right. It should be easy to remind yourself to file your taxes. You know, this is aimed at low-income people who don't owe anything, will likely get money back from the government. They should know to file, but here's the administration reminding them again.
Mm-hmm. Biden vows to spike German pipeline if Russia strikes Ukraine. The Germans sort of agree with that move, but would rather see another solution, right?
That's right. It's pretty interesting because Germany has been pretty muted about Russian aggression in Ukraine. And the reason for that is they don't want to jeopardize the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which is an $11 billion gas and oil pipeline that connects Russia with Germany. Germany has sort of faintly condemned Russia for their action. And the German chancellor was in town this week, met with President Biden. They hosted a joint press conference. And it was very interesting because President Biden was extremely forceful. It hasn't started operations yet. And he's been very forceful that it never will start operations with the chancellor by his side. The chancellor insisted he was united with President Biden and the Western allies, but really didn't want to say that he would be okay with shutting down the Nord Stream 2 pipeline if Russia invades Ukraine. You could kind of see the look on his face. It was here's a reference that probably a lot of people aren't going to get. It was, if you remember when Eli Manning was drafted by the Chargers and he had that look on his face holding the Chargers jersey.
Yeah.
Like, I really just want to be anywhere right now that have to hold this Chargers jersey. It was a lot like that.
Gotcha. All right, before I let you run today, what are you working on?
Well, President Biden's going to have the utility CEOs at the White House. That we'll see what comes out of that as he tries to restart his Build Back Better agenda, which we'll see where they go from here, what they've got to say. I think that's going to be the big thing to follow this week with the president. Also, Supreme Court nominees, who's coming in and out, where they're going. I think it's somewhat interesting. The president is going to Camp David this weekend, and Camp David is the one place he goes where press is not allowed. If he goes to Delaware for the weekend, Travel Pool Press follows him up to Delaware. If he stays at the White House, you have In-Town Pool covering the White House. If he goes to Camp David, nobody's there. And it's an easy way. I'm not saying he is going to do this, but it would make sense. It's an easy way to have nominees come in and out of there without anybody knowing. And he could do the interviews and sort of keep them out of the press.
Aha. I look forward to that story. Read all of Jeff Mordock's stories at WashingtonTimes.com. As always, thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Andy. Have a good day.
Washington Times White House reporter Jeff Mordock. Thanks for joining me today, and remember to receive a 50% discount on an annual digital subscription to the Washington Times. Go to WashingtonTimes.com/Andy. You'll get 24/7 digital access to the Washington Times at 50% off. Again, go to WashingtonTimes.com/ANDY. I'm Andy Parks. Have a great day.